So today we're going to talk about the REAL CHEM project.
I would love to talk about REAL CHEM forever.
It really is a phenomenal project, and it comes from a long legacy of similar work.
Either to develop it or to implement it, I know how hard it is to work, but I also know that we've made great progress to reduce the barriers for adoption and implementation.
Hi, I'm Lisa March, and we're here on EdTech Elevated. We're joined by Dr. Amy Burkert, Vice Provost for Education at Carnegie Mellon University, where she leads university-wide initiatives to advance undergraduate and graduate learning. A biologist by training, Dr. Burkert's early research of disease shaped her deep appreciation for cross-disciplinary and global approaches to science. Over her career at CMU, she's been recognized as an innovative leader in education, developing new interdisciplinary programs, expanding research opportunities for students, and integrating technology into teaching and learning. Dr. Burkert's experience in STEM education and now in her position as a leader, she has a unique perspective on the impact digital learning platforms have on educators and students. Today we're going to talk about REAL CHEM, a next-generation digital learning platform developed in partnership with Arizona State University and Carnegie Mellon University. Amy's support of this project has been foundational to their success. Welcome, Amy. It's so great to have you here. Very excited to talk about all the great work you're doing at Carnegie Mellon University. So today we're going to talk about the REAL CHEM project. Would love to know more about how you heard of REAL CHEM, CMU's involvement, and just your thoughts in general on the project.
Thank you, Lisa. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I would love to talk about REAL CHEM forever. So it's a great opportunity to be able to share some really exciting developments and how it fits into both our broader picture for educational access and impact, but also for specific elements of how this came about and how it continues to evolve. So a little bit, I am the Senior Vice Provost for Academic Initiatives at Carnegie Mellon, and part of my portfolio is the Simon Initiative and the Open Learning Initiative, which is where the REAL CHEM project on our campus is grounded. I will say one of the questions that was asked earlier of me, where did this come from? When did you become aware of it? Because of my work in the Simon Initiative leadership team, I knew when the proposal was under development. And one of the things that was really striking to me was the faculty passion of seeing this as an opportunity to pull together so many different elements of our research and of practice informed pedagogy to basically optimize this Chem 1 class. And so it was very exciting to learn about the opportunity during proposal development, and fortunately I have a long-standing relationship with the faculty involved on our campus, so I also get to have sort of real-time updates of how things are going, both in the development but also in the implementation. Finally, I did get to be a part of the Gates 25th anniversary event where REAL CHEM progress, early progress, was highlighted, and that was really a proud moment to see my colleagues just really shining, literally. If you were there, you will see some evidence of shining, but I will just say that it was a real pleasure to be able to see that impact and to learn of measured learning gains.
It really is a phenomenal project, and it comes from a long legacy of similar work at OLI. And I understand that you were one of the early faculty to lean in and develop courses with the Simon Initiative and OLI, biology in particular. So tell me more.
Well, biology is my faculty appointment area and one of my core passions. And my dear mentor and friend, Bill Brown, was the lead for the beginning of the Intro Bio OLI class. And I have to say, like many faculty, I was very hesitant. It was much earlier in my career when that was started, and I was afraid to get out of my comfort zone and try to embrace the technology, but also I knew that it would require changing my course in a really fundamental way and changing the way my students would be accessing and learning. And so it did cause me some concern, but it was a lot of fun to be able to think about the field you love and design what you want introductory learners to know about it. One of the things that both of us shared was a passion for teaching and for student learning. And so thinking about what are the most important concepts? How do we reverse engineer for the blank piece of paper that we have? We weren't tied to a textbook. We could set up the biology in any way that we wanted. And so that was very freeing, very daunting, because when you look at a blank piece of paper or a blank screen, you think, how do I encapsulate everything that we want them to learn? But it really helped you to say what's most important that they take away. And yes, there are a lot of facts in biology, but it's the process, it's the principles, it's the overarching flow of information and thinking critically about that and using it to solve problems. And what I found was, as we built the OLI homeworks, the feedback of the most common misconceptions, so that if they picked a wrong answer, they would get some explanation instead of just, oh, you're wrong. But it helped them to see this is a common thing that people think might be the right answer, and we could actually lead them to develop that brain muscle, that learning muscle, to actually be able to think through and solve problems themselves. So it really was set the foundation for my understanding. Little did I know that it would be something I would keep for my entire life and continue to expand my involvement even as a senior administrator. I will also say it gave me great empathy. So now when I see faculty taking on a courseware project, either to develop it or to implement it, I know how hard it is to work, but I also know that we've made great progress to reduce the barriers for adoption and implementation. And I hope that we will be able to continue to see those gains.
Boost your company's digital presence with Partner in Publishing. We leverage proven strategies to expand your reach and increase sales. Whether you're a startup or an established business, we tailor our digital marketing strategies to meet your specific needs. From search engine optimization and high conversion digital ads to organic social media and targeted email marketing, we employ essential marketing strategies to achieve your mission and deliver impactful results. Partner with us to meet and exceed your sales and marketing goals and stand out in the education sector. Learn more at partnerinpublishing.com.
We were talking earlier about just how important it is for having this universal design so that all students can be successful. You clearly were an early trailblazer in thinking about how to do this and employing technology and systems and collaborating. So now in your role as a national administrator, and you're part of many organizations that have the same mission and focus, tell me a little more about your work there and CMU, OLI's work in these areas.
Well, I will say that through my own academic and professional journey, I came from a very small rural town in western Pennsylvania and recognized that I didn't have all of the opportunities in my high school that others had along the way. And the same was true. I went to a small liberal arts college, and that also did not have all of the bells and whistles and active researchers that you might find in other environments. So I learned that we needed to do more, and that STEM education had limits that were difficult to overcome for some educators, depending on the context. So I will say that that has been not just my own journey, but so many reports and research studies have fueled this idea of how do we actually transform STEM learning and STEM education and support educators who are doing this really important work. So there are many organizations that have taken on this mantle, the AAU, the Association of American Universities, National Science Foundation, Howard Hughes Medical Institute. There are certainly the National Academies just came out with a release on how to improve STEM learning more broadly. And so it has been a longstanding opportunity for those who are seeing these important needs and making gains to actually start to enhance their impact and the ways in which we can share that knowledge with others. One of the most important things that these organizations have advanced is no one sector and no one institution can really make this change. It's about collaboration, it's about insights from real-world learning, and how do you work together to make that change, because it's not possible for anyone alone to do it.
That is really a great segue into how Real Chem came to be. And it's really the culmination of an amazing partnership, educators all over the world, all over the country, bringing their perspectives and helping inspire and educate students. So tell me a little more about the Foundation 25th anniversary and all the excitement that Real Chem brought. It really is a different way of teaching.
It is. I know that for most traditional large lecture classes, that was the kind of biology class that I was trying to transform when we made the OLI course. But it is trying to not replace the class or the faculty member. It's trying to optimize the impact of that educator's expertise and passion and time with students. And so rather than passive, large, sort of sage on the stage lecturing, it is much more about optimizing pre-work, optimizing individualized, adaptive, and personalized learning opportunities, active engagement in the large lecture hall or small learning cluster, as well as real-world problem solving. All of those things research has demonstrated can improve motivation, persistence, interest, a sense of belonging. All of those things are important, just as important as the content, and in some ways, perhaps even more. Because if I don't feel like I belong there or that I can do this, I'm much more likely to opt out or be opted out, in quotes, so to speak. And I think that is really what Real Chem is striving to do, is to bring all the best we know in pedagogy, all we know in student success, and couple that with state-of-the-art technology so that we optimize for each learner their learning experience.
We see that happening every day when we speak to faculty who are using Real Chem. They want to so badly bring these real life experiences into the classroom, and it's a lot of work and it's really hard. And the team has really done a great job of facilitating bringing in these real world experiences, inspiring, educating, and you see that really throughout the courseware, in the videos and all the great work that's been, the collaboration that's happened is evident in the project. Tell us more about what role that plays and maybe some of the evidence in student success that you see these types of platforms facilitate.
One of the things that I think is important is that it empowers the student to embrace their own responsibility in learning. And it gives them the tools to see what is actually, how they are progressing, where they are, and it also equips the faculty with the analytics to do so as well. So I know when, as a faculty member, you see that half of your class missed a particular concept, it allows you to optimize that time to go over that in class, to help to try another way to bring it to life for your students. And on the other side, if you see from your dashboard that all of the students are very easily getting 100% on questions mapped to those knowledge, skills, and abilities, it says, I don't need to go over that in my class. They already have it as a group. I can then optimize that time. And what is then possible is you get to bring in a little bit more of those examples, timely discoveries, real-world impact during the lecture that makes it much more exciting. And you see students staying engaged, coming to class, and really staying on top of their learning. So I think that ability to support both the learner and the faculty through real-world data and application can be very valuable.
Absolutely. We hear from students all the time. They question why they have to learn certain things. And Real Chem makes it real. They can see themselves using chemistry in their future jobs or in every day in the way they cook and the way they clean. So we have heard from students and faculty that connection matters for sure. Let's talk a little bit about, you said early days you were a trailblazer and did the biology course with OLI, and it was a lot of work. What are some of the barriers that you see faculty facing if they want to do these kinds of projects, and how can we be helpful to them?
I will say that one of the things we have to keep in mind are the faculty are not a monolithic being. And so everyone brings their own experience, their own biases, their own favorite problem sets to the work, their own approaches. And so change is scary, and you feel, I have success, maybe not as much success as I want for every learner in my class, but in general I'm successful, so why do I want to change? And so I think it's the unknown of what am I getting into, what is this going to mean, and how does that protect me and my students from what this upheaval or disruption might cause. I also think not all faculty are empowered to be independent in their coursework, and that's particularly true in the STEM areas because we have such prerequisite knowledge structures that flow through the curriculum that it's very difficult for an introductory biology or chemistry instructor to go rogue, so to speak, and then have consequences as the students progress through the other steps of the curriculum to the next stage of coursework. So there's also that peer pressure of, are you preparing the students for what they are going to face in my course? And I will say, as we're getting better at this type of courseware integration, sometimes students are spoiled by it. And when they go to the next class that isn't coupled with all of the supports and all of the innovations, that can also be difficult for the department to navigate because there are certain, I would say, expectations that have been set. So those are some of the barriers. I also think that when you do innovation, often your teaching evaluations tend to go down. And part of that is you're not just giving students passive knowledge, you're asking them to work hard too, exercising that learning muscle, and that means it's not as easy as just sitting in lecture and maybe watching YouTube or whatever else you might be doing. It means you have to be involved and really working hard. So sometimes that self-directed learning can feel like the faculty member isn't doing their job, when in fact, they're actually setting you up to build that foundation of not just knowledge, but of good educational practice.
Are you ready to elevate your brand and captivate your audience? At Partner in Publishing, our video marketing services are all about turning your ideas into captivating visual narratives. Whether it's a compelling promotional video, engaging social media content, or informative tutorials, we've got you covered. Our expert team works closely with you to create videos that not only look amazing, but also drive results. Don't just be seen, be remembered. Visit partnerinpublishing.com today and discover how we can help you outshine the competition.
So you spoke earlier about the data that can be garnered from the courseware, and the way it's developed really does employ learning science and gives faculty insights into how students are doing. Mm-hmm. How does that align with the Real Chem project, CMU's mission as it relates to data-driven instruction? Mm-hmm. Let's talk more about that.
Well, I will say that we are very fortunate that this has been a part of our culture at Carnegie Mellon for decades. And it dates all the way back to a very famous Nobel laureate faculty member who the Simon Initiative is actually named for, Herb Simon. And one of his famous quotes is that, and I'll probably not get it exactly verbatim, but the essence of what he shared is that for post-secondary education to really reach its full potential, we need to change teaching at that level from a solo sport to basically a research-informed community of practice. And that has been the process and the foundational premise under which all of our work has been built. He actually coined the term learning engineering, and that has just been that process of not just teaching and getting data, but taking that data, mapping it to the knowledge, skills, and abilities that are required, making sure that your course instruction, your course materials, and your assessments can be flagged to those learning outcomes, and then seeing if you're actually delivering on that. That data can then be the hooks that feed into our broader research structures for DataShop to be able to actually measure learning curves and to see, are we changing the direction of student learning? And are there places where we're missing the gaps? I will say, as more and more faculty started to take this on, particularly as we expanded and even during the pandemic, we started to see them actually changing not only the material they were putting into Courseware, but even in courses that were not supported by Courseware, they started to take some of these data-informed principles, mapping their knowledge, skills, and abilities, and refining their decades of work, because they saw that I'm seeing low scores on my exams because I'm not teaching those concepts at the same level that I'm asking the questions. So I do think there are lots of principles of learning science and engineering that even if technology is not being used, that can be a really good framework for faculty to think about how they're designing their classes, how they're implementing it, and how they're assessing it.
It sounds like you're able to give faculty so much information, tools, guidance, a great framework in which to improve teaching and learning. The partnership that you, CMU, ASU, and the Gates Foundation have formed has really been transformational. Tell us more about how you see that partnership evolving. Why has it been so effective?
First of all, I think it's effective because a lot of the base principles that I just shared that are so resounding as a part of our work in this space at Carnegie Mellon are shared by many of the partners that are involved, including at ASU. They themselves have been doing a lot of the work in learning science and learning engineering informed courseware development and educational transformation. And so there's sort of a foundational understanding and a shared vocabulary, a shared vision and mission. I also think that there has been on both campuses a track record of this idea that it isn't just about our institution. It's about the field of study. It's about engaging with the disciplinary experts, the organizations, and other institutions who may have very different student populations, very different faculty needs and stressors, where I think that this gives that broadening perspective and sort of two anchors to be able to understand and reach different learner populations and collaborator populations. I also think there's that iterative improvement of helping each other get better, of ideas that I know ASU shared with us early on, how we could improve OLI and our Taurus platform. And there was a lot of, I would say, iterative refinement and learning with and from each other. I think that ultimately that led to a very high level of respect and trust. And that is something that in any collaborative activity is really going to be important.
Yeah, we have had the great fortune of seeing the partnership take shape, evolve, and culminate in an amazing project with Real Chem. We're certainly proud to be partnering with you. Wondering, what are some of the proudest moments you've experienced with the Real Chem project?
I thought about that quite a lot, and I will say that, as I said, I know the faculty members, Giselle Sherwood and David Yaron, very well, who have been really the persons on our campus, or people on our campus, who have been advancing this work. Both of them are excellent educators and very passionate about knowing their students and seeing their students learn and succeed. But I will say that it was the hallway conversations. You happen to pass one of them on campus, and they just stop to share a little tidbit of, we found this, or we learned that, or did you see this? And that kind of success, even in the bite-sized areas, you see the passion and the satisfaction, fulfillment of, I had this vision, I thought it would work, and it's starting to work. And that just excitement and energy is very contagious.
So what does this signal for the chem, STEM education community? What do you see when you look into the future of how we might evolve these types of projects?
I am very encouraged by what we've learned. Just like the faculty are learning about their classes, as administrators and as national organizations, we're learning from all of these types of projects that there are ways in which we can actually start to reach learners that have been left out, or as I said, might themselves opt out. And I would say that right now it's more important than ever that we recognize the transformation that AI is going to have on every sector. It is important for people to have STEM education that allows them perhaps not to be STEM focused in their career, but everyone needs to have a baseline of understanding. So I'm encouraged by what we're learning about. I recognize some of the barriers we still need to overcome in terms of protecting our faculty, understanding where they are and what they are trying to balance so that they can be a part of this and feel excited about leveraging these opportunities. I do think we also need to continue to collaborate and coordinate, because otherwise we have a number of small silos, but together we can actually make a bigger impact. And I would say right now, I'm excited because I believe we're moving into Herb Simon's vision and passion. The idea that he predicted decades ago that we can no longer be solo, but we have to be partnering and collaborative, not only in teaching and development of tools, but in researching and feeding that research back into our educational practice. He may have been thinking, I don't know because I didn't have the chance to ask him, but I don't know if he was thinking only as an institution, as a country, or as a global educational practice. But knowing Herb and his philosophies and impact, I imagine that he could see to that future where it was not just about individual institutions, but it was more about a global community making an impact.
I see that future is now. I hear and see and so excited to be a part of what's coming. I do think that the doors are open now. The collaboration is happening day in and day out. It started with 2 amazing institutions, but I know there's a lot of great collaboration and expansion in the works, and we're excited to learn more about that from some of the folks at CMU and ASU in the coming weeks. We'll be talking about a much bigger partnership, and we'll hopefully have you back on EdTech Elevated to tell us more. Thank you so much, Amy, for being here today and for helping us get really excited about what's to come after Real Chem.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. As I said, I could talk about this work forever because I do believe in the transformation that it's having, not just on our institutions, but most importantly, on individual learners.
Thank you again.